Hey folks, it's Janek Gwizdala. It's the Janek Gwizdala podcast. Wow. It's late. It's Saturday night. It's post-holiday. Chaos is starting to die down. And I finally snuck into the studio to get a little look at and a little listen to some new toys. You may or may not have seen my latest post on the newsletter. If you're not signed up to that, by the way, it's completely free. I post what I think is some cool stuff anyway on a pretty regular basis, talking about pedals, talking about music, just things that pop into my brain. I feel like sharing with everyone. It's linked below. It's on a platform called Substack. And it's just kind of an old school blog/newsletter. It's where I host my podcast. That's where you're probably going to be hearing or seeing this for the first time, most likely. But if you're not signed up to it, check it out. As I said, it's completely free. I really don't spam you. It's all about sort of keeping it honest and keeping it musical. And most recently, I talked about some stuff in my pedal board, a few things that Santa had bought over the holidays for me. And with what you just heard just now was the Del Verb, the Universal Audio Effects Del Verb. They call it the Ambience Companion. And yeah, well, we were sort of on a meditation retreat for a few seconds there at the top of the podcast. We're going to get into that, take a deep dive on the Del Verb. I've got a couple of other things here. I've got my full pedal board on the floor. We're going to talk a little bit about what I'm replacing on the pedal board with the Del Verb, the little story that goes with that, what I kind of wanted to get, what I didn't end up getting. Maybe we'll program something on the fly with the HX Stomp to push through the Del Verb. And kind of shoot out some stereo delay things. The Del Verb is a stereo delay, stereo reverb with some modulation and all kinds of stuff on it. And I haven't had a chance to go through it in great detail, but I found a few things I like. And in this episode, I will be going through basically every preset has a phone app via Bluetooth, so I'm going to run through a few of those, see if we can make some music. I'm running in stereo as well, so hopefully you're listening on some headphones or stereo monitors, so you really get the full effect of what's going on, and that's something I'm heading towards, is running a full stereo rig at some point in the not too distant future. I've got a pair of Teletronics TDIs up here on the desk. You can't see them. I'm sorry, I'm not set up for a massive pedal demo shoot. It is just the podcast after all, long form, off the top of the head, no rehearsal, no script. It is the end of the year here. I'm recording here Saturday, 28th of December. It's 9 p.m. just about to turn over 2024. If you don't have a copy of the new book that just came out, it's the Bassist's Book of Scales and Arpeggios. Look, it's a pretty rotund edition at 371 pages of blood, sweat, tears, fingerings, tab, and all things Western harmony. That's out. Physical copies like the one I'm holding here are available, linked below. We ship them worldwide, signed physical copies, digital copies at the website. Of course, it's all available at Amazon as well. If you have a copy of this, and I know many hundreds of you do now because I had to sign them all and ship them all over the world. If you dig what you're seeing, what you see in the book, and you have a couple of seconds, go to the Amazon page and give it a 5-star review, give it a thumbs up or whatever it is over there. Some positive feedback would be greatly appreciated. That helps push it up the rankings, get it seen by a lot more people. I've had some amazing feedback on it so far, so I can't thank you all enough for that. There have been some questions, hey, I don't quite understand this, comments about some basic things about harmony that are in there that are maybe not so obvious if you're not deep into the process. It is, after all, a technical manual of sorts. So I'm going to be making some videos throughout the beginning of 2025 based around that book, just to help get you into it and show you some of the ways I use all of that material. The last few days of the year here, we do have our last sale of the year. Any signed physical book like that you buy on the website, you get a digital version of any book on the website. It doesn't have to be the same one for just $5. We've been trying to figure out a way to bundle physical and digital products forever. Squarespace unfortunately doesn't allow that, but for this little sale we're doing, it's just $30. You'll get 2 books basically, one physical signed copy and one copy of any digital book in the store. All the discounts are added automatically at the checkout, and it's 25% off all digital bundles. So if there's a bundle of multiple digital books, there are tons of those on the site. That's all linked below. You get 25% off all of that, which includes the full library. You can get literally every single book on the site in one product, and it's 25% off right now. So let's get on with music. Now we've done the plugging, let's get on with the music. And as you heard, this thing is pretty big. I've got nothing going on before it. It's just me and the bass. I am doing some little tonal changes with the pickup selection, as you can hear, or perhaps even see if you're watching on YouTube. Maybe now is a good time to get in the comments and let me know, do you use either reverb or delay? Do you play in stereo? Is it something you've perhaps thought about doing, wondered, even wondered what it sounds like? Quite happy to be bringing you this here. If I turn off the reverb, just go with the delay, you can get that real sense of the stereo image. Quite detailed. I really do like I like both of the things in there. I do like the reverbs in the Del Verb, and we'll get to why I'm adding something to it a little bit later, because there's not quite enough control. In fact, there's hardly any control over the reverb. Anyway, that's for later on in the video. We're going to get to a bunch of presets, but yeah, get in the comments, let me know if you use delay or reverb. This isn't exactly the kind of thing you're going to be turning on and using heavily if you're on a gig playing Brown Eyed Girl, or you're out on the road with some pop band. Maybe not the most useful thing for bass players in those sort of situations. But when you want to get creative and when you want to get a little bit ambient, like you can hear I am doing here, I love the little detuning and warbles that it gives you. Yeah, if you're trying to get into something a little bit more ambient, a little bit more open, creative, we'll push a few different things through it as well. I think that running a stereo setup, something I've wanted to do and I've been trying to find the solution to, as you will probably know if you listen to the podcast on any sort of regular basis. Talked about it for quite a while. One of my next purchases will probably be the Canvas, the Warbus Audio stereo Canvas, like a stereo DI in one, really nice, sort of easy to manage package, and that will probably be the thing that gets all of this in stereo on quite a small board at the end of the day. I'll do some more detailed, shorter videos on all of this stuff with close-ups of all of the pedals on my board, but for now in the podcast, on the long form video, which is very unprepared, we'll just have to go with everything all at once, or everything in sequence. Let's go through. I have it, there are three different, so basically on the Del Verb, it's a reverb pedal and a delay pedal. It's way more weighted towards the delays as far as I'm concerned, because that's the thing you have control over, and I think they sound freaking incredible. If I switch it to the center, the analog, what is this meant to be, the Digitech Memory Man, I think, there are some really nice, some super weird stuff. Where did I get these? This one I kind of liked, I think. It does get pretty weird and pretty out there pretty quick, but extra bright attack, what is this? This one's called Furry Bear. And these are, I guess, presets. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess it can self-oscillate. Yeah, it's a pretty standard set of delay controls, as you might imagine on an analog piece of gear. That one's called Sizzle Crunch. This one is Slow Square Mod. Smooth dark repeat. And there are so many of them. And I guess once you set whatever you want, once you set the preset from the app, that's where it stays. That has been my experience so far. As far as I know, when I turn the pedal off, turn it back on, it was set to whatever I'd left it at last. Let's see. And like I said, there are three different delays. There's like a precision delay, like a real digital delay. Pretty nice. It's kind of no nonsense, just straight up. Once I put some reverb on there. Of course, there are 3 reverbs as well. Actually, if I turn the delay off, we'll just hear the reverb. That's Hallelujah Stacked Verbs. Dark and Dusty Trail. What is this? Some of them have, these presets have pre-delay built in, which I'm not a massive fan of most of the time. And I guess this is, I'm going to get this wrong. I think this is based on, the whole reverb is based on the lexicon. I'm going to do a quick Google search just so I don't give you some total nonsense, but I believe it's built on a old lexicon reverb from back in the day. Let me see. Del Verb 224. What is it exactly? I should have read here's the manual. Boom. Del Verb. Here we go. Where is it? I wish they gave it to you right away. Although I guess not everyone is looking for exactly the same thing at the beginning. Delay, effect. Yes, just tell me what it is. I guess it's not actually that important, is it? You either like it or you don't. And okay, here we go. No, we don't. All right, forget it. I'm just taking way too long to get information that I guess really doesn't matter. Basically, there's a plate, and there is a whole plate and a spring. So spring 65 is going to be an amp kind of reverb, the plate 140, and then the whole 224 based, like I said, I believe on an old lexicon reverb. And they really do sound great. So let's go to right away why I feel like I can't use the reverb as I would kind of like on here is because literally the only control you have on the pedal itself over the reverb, besides turning it on and off, I guess once it's on, the only control you have is how much there is of it. It's not crazy useful. I'd love to be able to manipulate the EQ a little bit, perhaps, and if there was any modulation in the preset or in the algorithm, rather, if there was any modulation, I'd like to be able to manipulate that a little bit. And for that reason, I believe, and I may be semi-accurate on this. I believe the delay side of the Del Verb is basically the UAFX Starlight. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And because I love the delay so much, and because the Starlight was like $350 and the Del Verb was $299, I think all in, my first reaction was like, oh, I'll just get the Starlight and then I'll get the Golden Reverberator, like their reverb pedal. Then I'll have all the control that I want over all the parameters. I'll have those two and I'll get rid of the Del Verb. And I was like, hang on a second, Del Verb's cheaper than the Starlight. If I just treat it as a delay pedal, it also has this kind of bonus, reverb on there that I could use as another layer at some point. It just wouldn't be as my main reverb. And then I'll just get the Golden Reverberator, and that'll be my combination of reverb and delay, kind of really being able to manipulate the crap out of some sounds. And if you've heard me play before, if you've heard me talk before about reverb or my board over recent years, you'll know that I've been a massive fan of the Dark World. Still am a massive fan of the Dark World. I think this sounds amazing, especially the kind of, it's like a VHS decay weirdness. It's basically the Chase Bliss Cooper effects. What was their combination? Their collaboration was Generation Loss. The left side of that sounds like the Generation Loss. So I loved that about this pedal, and I love the reverb as well. Simple tone, kind of tone mix, pre-delay, which, like I said, I don't really use, and dwell, kind of how much there was of it. And then 3 simple things. I think it was also a plate, a Hall, and a spring. Is that what it is? My eyesight is so bad. What was it? It says, oh yeah, spring, plate, Hall. Exactly that. Those were the 3 things. Anyway, that was what I was using. It got mangled in the pedal board. There's a button missing here, and a spring popped out. It got totally mangled. One of the knobs on top got all bent to one side. On a flight, my pedal board just got a bit beat up, and it's not stereo. So it was sad that it got broken, and I'm going to get it fixed because I love the pedal. But it was also a sign that it was time to try and figure out the end of my signal chain, the time-based effects, to get into something that was going to really work for a stereo setup. And I've wanted the Meris Mercury 10, the Mercury X rather, and the LVX forever and a day. But if my setup now, potentially I've ordered the Golden Verb, so it's going to be 2 of these size pedals, which is about the same size as one of those larger footprint Meris pedals. So real estate on the pedal board just didn't allow for the LVX and the Mercury X, as amazing as those 2 machines are. And they have like incredibly complex and probably user-friendly user interfaces. I'm not going to say that they're not, but they strike me more as a writing tool, perhaps. Something that maybe I'll think about investing in for the studio and for the writing process, later down the line. But for the simpler, smaller footprint on the pedal board, they just weren't going to cut it. As much as I've loved checking out people's demos and checking out reviews and listening to how those things sound, I think the Universal Audio stuff sounds insanely good. And in the footprint and the price point and all of those things, I can get the delay and the reverb for basically the price of one of those Meris boxes. Yes, albeit with more limited amounts of control, but I think it's the kind of control that I want. Simplicity with enough knobs and enough toggle switches to get out of it what I want when it comes to, pushing stuff like my harmonizer stuff. When it comes to pushing this kind of stuff through, I'm going to go back to the tape, to the EP3, and go with the dark tape. What is broken bottom? That sounds painful. Let's try a little bit of that without the. Ooh, I like that. I'm probably going to get demonetized for literally that 8 seconds of what is that? Beauty and the Beast or something. But yeah, I like that broken bottom. I like old vibey tape delays that can get in. You can change the color, maybe. Ooh. Wow. Oh, baby, listen to that. And I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what any of these knobs are controlling. Now, if I push that through some verb in the same pedal, get some break up. Woo! think I have trails set. Yeah, trails are on. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Check the sound of the Del Verb out. That's awesome. Like, just on its own, it is already getting really close to what I want. I just want a little bit more manipulation on the reverb side, and just a separate pedal, separate set of controls. And I think I'll be in heaven, actually, like being able to be really creative and, you know, make music and make huge sounds and do sound design and come up with unique things for specific performances, for specific pieces. I'm working on a bunch of solo material and some classical music in 2025. So that's going to be interesting to sort of design spaces with those two pedals. And there was a little brief moment, maybe a month or two, where the Dark World was out of commission and broken, like I just showed you. And I have it's still on the board right now. I have the Avalanche Run by Earthquaker Devices. Unfortunately, this one isn't plugged in stereo because it's in the board right now. So it really sounds beautiful as a stereo pedal. It sounds great as a mono pedal as well, of course. But I'm just pushing that in mono down through the chain. Finally, I'm splitting out with an HX Stomp and into the Del Verb stereo. But you're not getting the full effect of it, unfortunately, like that. And that is a stereo delay and stereo reverb pedal all in one. But again, the controls over the reverb just weren't quite what I wanted for the bigger picture, for the bigger stereo picture. And footprint-wise, it's a tad wider than the Del Verb and the Golden Reverberator. So it worked great. I was out on the road with Mike Stern, Dennis Chambers, and the guys. We played some shows here on the West Coast, and it sounded beautiful. I put a little clip of that in the latest newsletter where I was talking about pedals. It worked fantastic. I also have the HX1 on the board, and I'm sure people will be like, "Well, what about that? You have delays in there, right?" Yeah, well, of course. The Stomp has a bunch of stuff. In fact, why don't we? That'd be interesting, actually. Why don't we grab a stereo delay from the Stomp and kind of shoot it out against the Del Verb here. Let's see what we've got. We've got there are so many vintage digital. I unfortunately haven't worked enough. Oh, that's sounded nice. Adriatic delay. Okay, that has some Adriatic swell. What is this one? Elephant Man. Multi-part. Glitchy. Oh. Euclidean delay. That sounds nice. I like that Adriatic delay. Let's go with that. And let's see what we can do with it. Let's switch the time out to... control. Woo! Get some depth. There's a lot of controls here. That's cool. So let's assign it to a foot switch, and boom, we have it on and off. Great. So now let's go with whatever's in the Del Verb. Oh yeah, I'd had that kind of weird, totally crushed out one, didn't I? Let's maybe turn down the weirdness on that. Whoops. So that's our Del Verb. Here's our Stomp. Obviously they're different, they have slightly different colors. Quality is great though between the two. Let's go back to the Del Verb. And we're not comparing apples with apples here. Obviously, they are two different delays. I wouldn't know really exactly where to start in terms of, in fact, well, having said that, I bet there's a straight up tape delay, right? Let's turn off the, what about this one? Oh no, whoops, here we go. Woo! Actually, that's nice. Dual delay. Ooh, they are nice in the stomp, I gotta say. Oh, transistor tape. I have used this one before. I dig this one. And I dig the fact that you can mess with the... get some wow and flutter in there. It's a pretty simple one. Let's assign that to a foot switch so I can switch it on and off. Great. Okay, here's our Del Verb. There are some characteristics on the back end of the note that I really like in there. All right, let's go to the stomp. Maybe we'll push the stomp through the reverb of the Del Verb. Sounds pretty nice. And now this is the Del Verb with the delay and the verb on it. So yeah, I think the bottom line is it's not like you can't manipulate something like the HX Stomp to get you some fantastic sounding delays. But as I've talked about before, a little bit at least, it's tough trying to decide where you put the stomp in a pedal board setup. You know, when you have other pedals, when it's not this sole unit that you're using. It's tough to decide, okay, where's this going to go? What can I utilize it for? Is it going up front with, with compressors and, like maybe octave pedal emulator or something? Is it going down the end with time-based stuff? Is it going kind of in the middle with modulation? For me, as I'm sure you've heard, I like to use it for, harmonizers. Let's try a different reverb on here. Bouncy Hall. Ooh. That's a little short. Kind of want a big hall. Where's Hall A diffused? What is this? Room A. I want Hall A, like large hall. Where's that? And then bring back the mix a little bit. Who else has this feeling like holiday chops, Christmas chops I call them, where you just don't get to the instrument as much as you would like? And then, well, for me anyway, I find the first time I'm playing today is like right here, drowning in effects, recording an episode of the podcast. Not ideal, but it happens. I want to get back to is it this one? Oh my goodness. See, that's it. One note. Like when I get to, it's still going. When I get to something like that, oh, did you hear the pitch change a little bit there? Ooh, still going up. when I get to something like that, that's so simple, you hardly have to play any notes. And just let it do the work. I mean, that's worth the price of admission alone for me, as far as I'm concerned. That's incredible. So I'm like unbelievably excited to check out the Golden Reverberator and have that as the main reverb with tons of manipulation. And still I've got this ball of reverb on this one knob on the pedal, maybe down the signal chain. Let's see where that goes. I'm still not sure. And I'm not sure whether this runs the delay and the reverb in parallel or in series, and which one's first. I'm guessing parallel. I don't know. Let's add some delay into that ridiculously ambient reverb. Wow. Get some modulation on that. Crazy. I actually want to get to the delay rather, and figure out what's going on. Wow. Self-oscillating? Not quite. I mean, I haven't played a note now, and already that's an interesting sound. I mean, that's a lot of fun to me. There's like so much music to be had in there. In fact, I wonder if I can throw a little silence in the looper here. Oh, that wasn't enough. I want to put two really low notes with the subharmonic. Maybe that's enough. Wow, still going, huh? That one's crazy. So if I put an F and a B flat. They overlapped a little bit, but normally I would have the looper all the way at the end, and it is not, unfortunately, because it's at the end of my pedal board. Then I have these other pedals sitting on the desk up here, the Del Verb and the Stomp and all this stuff. I got the Doom 2 up here, the original Octaver from 3-Leaf. Sleep here. Could go on all night. Maybe I will on an album. Actually dial in some of those sounds and have them repeatable. But yeah, that's crazy. I'm basically just using the Del Verb there, and it's amazing what effects you get when you push some stuff through it. Like maybe a right. That's because I've got that on. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy one too, using the Front a bit as a ring modulator. Crazy, in almost 40 minutes we didn't get to even a fraction of all the presets on the Del Verb. Maybe that will have to wait for a dedicated video. I was almost thinking about getting rid of it, like I said, and just getting the Starlight and the Golden Reverberator. But I think I'm going to stick with my delays here in the Del Verb. Have this little bonus reverb and see what the Golden Reverberator adds to it. Maybe I will put that last in the chain. And just see how we go, see what I can push through it, and see how wide I can get it to feel in stereo. I can't wait until the HX Stomp is like right before all of that in the chain, and that's stereo as well. So all my harmonizer patches will be stereo. That's gonna be pretty interesting. I just have to now find a way to, at least I want to. I don't want to have to build two boards. It would be so expensive to duplicate everything. I mean, as it is, it's insane, right? I keep doing this just to remember, you know, when I make these videos or when I talk about any of this gear, not to freak people out, because it is an absurd amount of money if you have to pay for all this stuff full price. It would take a whole other episode as to explain how I got all this stuff, some of it for free, some of it not. You know, I think it's pretty widely, pretty well known that I'm a Line6 artist, so I'm lucky that I don't have to pay for Line6 stomps. But certain other things, the Dark World, the Mood, you know, like what the I got 2 Franta bits that I paid for. The FM are on. I was fortunate enough to be on the beta team, testing team, so I got one of those for free. But my Mantic Hulk I purchased. All the Pladesk electric stuff I purchased. It's crazy. It is a balance. I definitely couldn't afford to duplicate it, to have a stereo version and a mono version. So that is far beyond my reach and my means. So what I want to try and do in order to have it tourable and playable is find a way to perhaps unplug one side of the stereo. Now I'm sure there are going to be pedal experts out there going, holy shit, you can't do that. It'll alter the balance of the rotation of the Earth's gravity to the moon or something, and you'll turn whatever gig you're on into a black hole. Okay, probably not that bad, but I do want to find a way to run the same rig mono and stereo. That will mean unplugging things, but the way I set it up, hopefully that will make the stereo side of things, I'll try and make it easily patchable. So I'll have all my stereo things together at the end of the chain, hopefully exposed in the back of the pedal board, so I can get in there and patch it for stereo as and when that's an option. And of course, monitoring, it's almost never going to be an option with an amp, because I'd have to have 2 amps, two speaker cabinet setups. This much I already have resigned myself to the fact that that's probably never going to happen, at least not on a regular basis. I've done it here in town. It's so much fun. I've taken 2 rigs. It feels amazing. You feel like you're somewhere on the edge of the galaxy with some of these sounds that you play when you really feel it in true stereo right there on the stage. I've never, although I'm wearing in-ears right now and have worn them for decades at this point, I've never been that comfortable playing intimate, creative music in smaller spaces with in-ears in, or with earplugs, or with anything like that. So either I'm going to have to get over that and figure out an in-ear monitoring system, in which case the amp won't matter that much. Maybe I'll just run one side out of the DI just for a little bit of oomph on stage, a little bit of air movement, but it won't be a true monitoring situation, and I'll get the true thing in the ears. Here's another thing, and let's see if you made it through. I've been doing this recently, and it's been awesome to see everyone's response. If you made it to this far in the video, leave me, and I'm gonna go find a really weird emoji here. Leave me the and people say they can't find these things, but you can just type the word and it shows up. So leave me there's a cool one here. Leave me it's going to be a food item, so you already know where you're at. Leave me the bowl of rice. I had rice for dinner tonight. Leave me the bowl of rice. White bowl, white rice. In the comments below. And if you do that, I'll definitely read what you've written. You always know that I've read your comment when I put the little heart on it. And if I have time, I'll reply if you have a question. Now, of course, I've forgotten what I was going to ask you. It's something that I've been meaning to talk about, and I'll probably make a dedicated video on it at some point. When I've been going through and listening to all of these pedals online, listening to demos, trying to figure out what it is that I want. Do I want the Meris? Do I want the UA audio? Should I just be using the Eventide H9 that I have here? All of those questions. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you have been listening to, obviously, a ton of guitar demos, because there are mainly guitar players making videos on this stuff. And then there are some people doing bass stuff. I know I do. There are a few people out there doing bass stuff. And I'm always left a little bit for what I want, and for the fact that I'm looking for something that's quite weird and, sort of out of the box. It's not really that usable or that utility when it comes to ambient stuff with delays and reverbs. I've always been left a little bit shit, I really don't know. I can't make up my mind on that, until I finally realized, oh shit, I play more like a synth player than basically anything else when I do this kind of stuff. All the stuff you've heard me play, even when I'm playing the natural sound of the bass, I'm thinking more almost symphonically. I'm thinking about pushing, even though there might only be 2 notes sounding or fretted on the instrument, I'm thinking about a much wider, more vertical sound in terms of the harmony. I'm playing like a synth player. or a piano player or a keyboard player. So I was like, that's what I need to do. There are a couple of people I've now come across that I really like. The only person whose name I can remember off the top of my head, the YouTube channel, is Jorb, Jorb. He's like, hi, I'm Jorb and I like gear. And then boom, straight into a banging video about, maybe I'll link that he did a Del Verb one. So maybe I'll try, if I remember, I'll try and link the Del Verb one below. If I haven't done that, leave me a comment, remind me. Don't forget, bowl of white rice, and I'll get back to you on that and reply to your question and definitely read your comment. Really appreciate you making it this far in the video. Don't forget, the basis book of scales and arpeggios is out there in physical form and digital form and all of that. Of course, our deal, buy any signed physical book until midnight, New Year's Eve here in 2024, and get any digital book on the site for just $5. So you get 2 books for $30, one physical, one digital, and 25% off any digital bundle. That's until midnight, December 31st, 2024. Here we are, December 28th. Really appreciate you spending some of your insanely precious time with me, talking about music, learning about the bass, digging into some pedals and some ambient stuff, and something that's not necessarily Mustang Sally and Brown Eyed Girl. I apologize if that is your thing, and we're getting into effects that don't really apply to that. I love that thing personally. I could listen to Jameson and those kind of guys, and I do all the time. It's just this particular lane of pedals today was something a little bit different. Maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't. Maybe you learned that this isn't your thing, and if you did, then shit, that you learned something. Even if it wasn't something that is going to go out, that you're going to go out and spend a bunch of money on, or is going to cost you money. Maybe I saved you money and you found out that you didn't like something. Nothing wrong with that. But that's it. I'll see you cats probably in the new year. Here's to a very productive 2025. And like I said, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. It's linked below. That will bring you news in the next, I want to say 48 to 72 hours of the album launch for the Mystery to Me 20th anniversary. That is going to happen before the clock strikes midnight on the 31st. It will be released in 2024. We are so close. So watch out for that. I'll see you all soon.